Welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice sunny Sunday morning over here from Helsinki. The U.S. men's hockey team has won the gold medal, I think. So congratulations to them. And we have plenty to talk about today with a long-term analysis of this asset and how the last week has really fit into the long-term picture and what that means for likely the next, probably the next month and a half to come. So with that in mind, I should probably let you know that the premium features of the Krown trading application are now live. You can learn more about them in the Learn More tab. The biggest question that I always get is, does a Joule Light come with this? And yes, it does. So there you go. And we'll actually flip back into the Krown trading application a little bit later in this analysis, as I do want to make this a little bit more streamlined, focus on the higher term timeframes and following up on the last kind of 3 weeks of analysis that we've been looking at right here. So let's get into that right now. And what has the last 3 weeks been? Well, first things first, after we got that dump from $41,000, we did look for a move down to about $35,000 based off of the monthly 21 exponential average. That we did get. Plus, we were looking for a bounce with a little bit of a bear trap in between, up to 41 and then 45, of which we got that as well. Then we looked for a pullback specifically to $41,000. Once price action did start to close below there and negate that, that is when the more immediate bullish sort of resolution of this was thrown out the window, at least for now. And we're going to offer up, some I wouldn't say invalidations, but validations of a bear trap. It's kind of far away from at the current moment in time, but hey, always needs to be in there for reference. And that did initiate targets lower below $40,000, which is where we're at right now. What I am going to be wrong about, however, in the last 24 hours is I was actually looking for a bounce at around 40,400. We didn't get that. So, or 40,000 bucks, whatever it was. Basically yesterday, we didn't get that. So definitely going to be wrong about that. But ultimately, the focus right now is on the higher term timeframes. So have to step back and put the focus on that, of which the 2-day, we'll start off with today, the 2-day today. We do see multiple drives of hidden bearish divergence off the last highs. I still think that one's playing out as we do move back into the bearish control zone. The daily obviously did have regular drives of bearish divergence over here, alongside a rising volatility as well. Not a great combo for the Bulas. And daily Joule has been downside basically since 12th of February. And now volatility is actually going with it as well. So that's no longer corrective signal. That is a reversal signal, of which we have right now. On top of that, if we go over here to our stochastic momentum chart, you will notice, or very likely notice, that we do have, or that's the monthly, sorry, but we'll get to that one later. Don't worry, it gets worse. Don't worry, it gets worse. The daily over here will have downside momentum as long as Bitcoin is closing dailies below 44,300. And the two-day, which is also closing tonight, will have downside momentum as long as Bitcoin is below 43,700. So not great right there, as the last time we did see it turn around from the critical zone of the bullish control zone was actually early November off of the pretty much all the all-time, in fact, the all-time highs thus far. So rather relevant in this case. So that brings up the question, where are we looking for as far as targets goes? And this is where I'll bring in my first point of potential hopium, of which what I've done here, okay, not on this chart. What I've done here on this chart is I have taken a bullish Fibonacci retracement in this case, and we do see that we're currently playing off the 0.5, actually literally just there right now at 38,300 or so, getting a little bit of a short-term bounce, maybe bounce up a little bit more. That's not really what I'm concerned with right now. Ultimately though, I do think that Bitcoin probably finds its way a little bit lower. I am looking for, if I'm going to come up with a hopium scenario here, Bitcoin to come down somewhere between $36,000 and $37,000, somewhere around the 618. Could be wicks lower, that's fine, but somewhere down around here, and then swing back around for a higher low. Because keep in mind, Bitcoin has actually not put in a higher low nor a higher high throughout this whole run from 35 to 45. So if it did do something like that, that would be your first good signal. What would be the confirming factor that, hey, this is probably going to end up being a bear trap and you don't really need to be that defensive anymore? Well, after that, assuming that Bitcoin gets there, I need to see Bitcoin flip back, do the flip back around and close above about $42,000. If I saw something like that, yes, very, very likely we're looking at a bear trap. Full confirmation is the same criteria as before. And this is really, really pertinent information, because it's what's kept us safe on this channel from, not going into laser eyes territory or just any sort of hopium territory, which was a full hour closure specifically above $45,000 or a daily above 44,500. None of those two conditions were met. Obviously, things were looking good over here, but without those two conditions met, can't be looking for continuation, of which targets would still be relevant towards 50,000, probably even more than that, probably more like 53 to 55, to be honest with you, over the following weeks. But that was a time when, most people in this market were getting rather bullish, and there were, there was some good reasons to be. Have to give them that. But at the same time, this is why key closures are just, it's non-negotiable, at least in the way that I look at things. It's not always going to be perfect and always going to be right, but it does keep you safe from, moments like that. Anyways, let me get rid of that for right now. That would be the hopium, essentially. So the doomium is that you get a bounce right here still, which I think regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish, you're probably going to bounce somewhere around here. And then you set in a lower high, let's say below 41 or 41.5 or so, especially below 42, obviously, but 41 would be rather obvious in this case. And then, big downs to probably the macro range lows. Okay, cool. So how nasty do we want to get here? Okay, so first things first, I should also explain why I don't think that Bitcoin really has the current fuel to really just destroy a level like this right here between about 36 and 37. That comes down to one, the global open interest, of which we did not see an extreme here. So not that many leverage positions on to get liquidated right now, essentially for that downside event, at least a downside event that I think takes it like lower than, let's say, 35 or so. Before having like a decent bounce after that bounce, and yeah, certainly definitely possible. And then also the other thing would be our higher term time frame stochastic momentum oscillators over here. So that would be the weekly, of which we still see an upside across here, to be fair, as long as Bitcoin's above 35.5. So it's getting close, man. It's getting real close. And then the 5 days, which is going to turn down below 36,300, which would be a great signal for a continuation event. Yeah. Until then, I do still look at those things as, perhaps likely to get tested this week, but ultimately I do think that Bitcoin's poised for a bounce around this region. And then does Bitcoin put in a lower high below 41 or 41.5? Definitely I'm going to get quite bearish after that, or bearish for like a major move down to the macro range lows, that again being between $29,500 to $31,000 or so, or a potential reversal on a bear trap, of which we already covered up those conditions. So what is the very high term time frame saying in this case? And I want to boil this down into some pretty simplistic charts, which we'll bring up over here. We're going to be on the monthly for Bitcoin. This is a chart that I was espousing a lot in January. In December and January. And it is this, just a couple of three simple indicators right here. First, the monthly MACD. Second, the monthly white 20 simple. And third, the PMAR. A little bit less important, but has been pretty good, to be fair. Anyways, I marked off with these green vertical bars all of the areas where we've seen monthly MACD cross the downside. There's been 3 prior times, except for our current time, and they have all been on bull traps, like major bull traps, for the macro in this case. So we're talking about over here, August 2014, before going from 600 down to 150, $200. Talking about over here, May to June of 2018, before going from 10,000 down to 3,000. And these moves took like half a year to a year. This one over here, like 2 months before, actually 2 months before the Rona dump of 2020, did tell you that this is not the upside move that you're looking for, and forced it back down. And then we're seeing the same thing over here. You'll notice that all of these iterations, including our current one, we're playing off the white 20 simple for a couple months after testing it, but eventually did fail below it. And then also we did see moves below the moving average on the PMAR as well. So all of those 3 indications have led to, every time, which is, 3 is not that much, but fair enough, it's all that we got, to moves down towards the green 55 exponential moving average, which you can see right here, tested twice and then up. Here, tested a few times and then up. Here, tested once, up. And then perhaps here, which would be down around the mid $20,000 territory. Currently trading just below $23,000. Obviously, it's going to rise up with each and every passing month, so maybe it moves up towards around $25,000 by the time it's relevant. But that would be kind of my worst case downside target. getting wicks below it definitely possible, but I do think that the super bears who are calling for like 10,000, 15,000, whatever it might be, I think that they're just as delusional and just as insufferable as the perma bulls calling for 500,000 to $1 million, right? It's the same thing. It's just two sides of the same damn coin. Realistically, what I think is most likely to happen is Bitcoin plays out the same macro range for the next year. Maybe even longer than that, maybe 2 years, between 30,000 and 60,000. Maybe there's just one quick move down to mid 20s, somewhere in between there. And then, over a long enough time period, probably tries another step up overall. But I do think that this asset is done going parabolically up and also parabolically down. I think that we look at ranging markets, maybe a few inefficiencies, above and below the range, highs and range lows between there. And then, after like a couple of years of consolidation, then probably takes another step up or so. There's just too many big institutions in this game right now who play a different game than your average retailer, of which that is value buying and value selling, which means that, you're probably not going to get those major rips to the upside any longer, nor are you going to get like those soul crushing moves to the downside. The problem is that is a statement of relativity, right? Because, for a lot of people, the last 3 months have been soul crushing moves to the downside. Historically speaking, things can get so much fucking worse. It's not even funny. So, do have to put things into perspective, but I understand that that's a relative statement. So, maybe instead of getting like 80% crashes, you get like 50% crash, something like that. Again, it's just theoretical right there. Anyways, on top of that, for the bear rock case, we do see over here with the, yes, there we go, the monthly stochastic momentum, which is pointed to the downside. And with just over a week to go in the month of February, we will see it continue to not just reject the bullish control zone, but continue with downside momentum with any sort of a closure on the end of the month below 54,350. Not great, might I say. Anyways, the last time we saw a rejection specifically at the bullish control zone, or just even losing the bullish control zone, was February 2014. Where was that? Let me actually mark this one off. Boom. Oh no, I need a fresh chart. Oh, this one doesn't have the history. There we go. All right, found it. This one will work. All right, so we can use this one right here. Where is this one right here? Let's go. It's like right there or so. Yeah, somewhere right around there. And then this area right here, perhaps. So let's see where those line up with, what do you know? Bull trap, and potentially bull trap as well right here. So fair enough on that. That would be the much more bearish view long term. So again, understand where the invalidations and invalidations occur. I do think that there's a potential for a major bear trap right here, but understand, what needs to happen after that. For right now, can only take the market, one leg at a time. And for right now, very, very short-term timeframes, I do think come down a little bit lower. There are a couple of things that I wanted to address over here. We addressed the global open interest, I believe, already. We didn't hit extremes there. On the funding rates, we actually are seeing positive funding rates right now, which is fucking brutal, man. That's fucking brutal for longs. They're very, very small, very, very minimal, but even just having that within the context of a pretty nasty downtrend, hard to love. Also, that was the other thing that I forgot about downside targets. Ultimately, here's a big one. Here's a big one for me. The Gaussian channel. Remember 2 weeks ago, or I guess this was last week actually, we saw the rejection of the median band. This week we're seeing follow through on that. So that is very clarifying by the market here. And ultimately this would suggest that you probably do test around the bottom side of the Gaussian channel. Now that's going to naturally rise up with each and every passing week. So this week it's like at just below 32. Coming into the next week, we probably see it go up somewhere around like 32.5, maybe something like that. But that will be a natural target, assuming that invalidation conditions are not met over a long enough time period. So we're probably talking like in the next month or so. So I thought that was rather relevant as well. Basically, this is all just a long way to say that, hey, as long as Bitcoin's below $45,000, hard to love in the short term, I'd say. I do think that there is still hopium, but man, you don't want to see that. You want to see that ticked off relatively soon. And then also another thing that I suppose is slightly more on the BULA side here would be the fear and greed index. Let me go over here. There we go. Yeah, fear and greed index. This is so interesting to me. We saw it hit obviously extremely fearful reads for 2.5 months on end over the summer, and then we saw it reset exactly to 50, exactly neutrality, and then back down again. So what does that mean? I don't know. I don't know exactly what it means, but ultimately it means because we already are so damn low on this one, back into extreme fear. I do think that Bitcoin very likely sets up for a decent sized bounce in the 36 to 37 region. Understand still, even with that likely to happen, a bear trap is not even a topic of conversation until at minimum $42,000 is reclaimed, and then still $45,000 does hold its value, but $42,000 would be sort of like my major first warning signal that, hey, this probably is a bear trap, and we're probably going to go much higher into like the mid to low $50,000 territory. Until then, well, not the easy chart to love, I suppose. Okay, cool. I should also let you know that I have a couple alerts on open interest, just for some sort of resetting levels that I think hold some weight. One of them is going to be below 10 billion. The other one's going to be below 8 billion. You can also do that for yourself in the notifications tab on the Krown trading application. We also got portfolio features now as well, which I should probably talk a little bit more about, but it's quite self-explanatory. You can track your trades and whatnot in your portfolio. All right, cool. I think that's going to do it for today. A little bit on the shorter side for a long-term analysis, but I just wanted to make it short and simple and sweet. And also, I'm just like, I'm not feeling that great after 22 buy, to be honest with you. So hopefully that shorts itself up soon enough. With today actually looks like it might be a day of opportunity. So I kind of want to get off right now and do a little bit of my own trading. But with that said, I hope that this one serves you well. I hope that you're staying safe in this market, if not for anything else, getting some experience, because these periods of time are where you can gather a lot of experience in a short amount of time, and it can serve you, technically speaking, throughout the rest of your life. So with that said, take care. Wishing you the best as always, and see you hopefully soon.